Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the Antec 1200 case. Now, as you can quite obviously tell, this is a very big case. There are 12 5¼ inch drive bays on the front, but the bottom 9 are occupied by 3 hard drive cages, which you can unscrew and push out, and each of them can hold 3 hard drives, and the front of them has one 120mm fan in each cage. Each is running at 80 CFM. Has a variable speed change knob at the bottom of each of them to lower the speed and also the loudness. And at full speed, they run at about 30 decibel. Now, right here's one of the hard drive cages. And here, once again, is the fan control knob. Now, right here is one of the dust filters. You flip this tab up, pull up, dust filter slides out. You can clean it off, wash it, dry it, put it back in, push, flip the tab down, push the hard drive cage back in. Now, as well as the 3 blue LED fans in the front, there's also another 2 exhausting in the back, which do not have dust filters due to the fact that they're exhausting, and a 200mm exhaust fan at the top as well. Now, there are 2 more spots where you can install fans on this case, one being on the side panel right here, where I have installed another fan, and also right here. There is a thing that attaches to the back of one of the hard drive cages, where you can install a 120mm fan, which can be put on the back of any of the 4 cages, well, 3, and also at the back of the 5¼ inch drive bays if wanted, that can blow air across either your CPU and RAM, your GPU, or across the power supply. Now, unlike most cases, this actually has the power supply installed on the bottom of the case. This has a couple of good things about it because the power supply actually intakes air and blows up, or if needed, it can outtake air and blow out depending upon what kind of power supply you have. But this makes the power supply be on the bottom, and for most rigs like this, you have a high wattage power supply. High wattage power supplies weigh a lot because it's just a giant hunk of metal, copper, all that stuff. So if it is up at the top, it makes the computer top heavy, and it also has a lot of weight that just wants to go down and has to be held in by a whole bunch of screws. So putting it on the bottom allows it to just sit there. As well as below the power supply, there are 4 soft rubber feet that the power supply sits on, and this helps greatly reduce vibration. So the case doesn't vibrate all over the place just because you have your power supply running. Now, this case has a built-in cable management system. As you can see here, all of the hard drives over here and the power supply cables run into a hole behind the motherboard. And if you go up, you'll see that there is another hole right here, another right here, and another over here. This allows you to run cables back behind the motherboard and out wherever you want them to help greatly increase airflow. Now, here is the other side of the case with the side panel taken off. And you can see cables running out here. Here's the 2 SATA cables, one running to my DVD drive, one running to the eSATA port in the front. Here's the power cable running to the actual CD drive. Here's fan cables coming in from the rear and top fans. Here's all the SATA cables coming in and out, going to all the hard drives. Here's more power cables. So you can just quite easily run stuff through here. But there is an extremely limited amount of space in between this piece of metal and the side panel. Something like a 1/4 inch. More over here because it's indented, and I wish I could run stuff over, up, and back, but really, there needs to be more space in there. There needs to be like at least a 1/2 inch or more, really like an inch of space right there, because you run your cables in, and like you see, I don't have them neat at all because I can't. I had them all tied up into the nice little bundles, but I wound up having to like spread them out and press them against the case and really just push on the side panel, hold it into place, screw on one screw, hold the other side, and screw on the other screw. So it works, and you can get it to work, but it takes a little bit of wrestling, and I really would have liked more space in there, double or even triple how much room they actually give you. Now, another complaint is the hard drive cages. You see, right here, I have, on this side, 4 thumb screws, as well as on the other side, there are 4 more thumb screws, holding in this case, the middle hard drive cage. So, if you want to change your hard drive, you have to, or add one for that matter, you have to take off both side panels, unscrew 8 screws, which, when this thing came stock from the factory, they were, I like thumb screws to be that, thumb screws. They have all the grip around them, so that you can actually turn them really easily, but they were definitely screwed in by some machine that was on the wrong torque setting. I wound up having to go and get a screwdriver to get all these screws out. So, you want to add a hard drive, you have to take out 8 thumb screws each. And that's just, I don't know, 6 more screws than you really should have to take. So what I wound up doing was taking off all of the thumb screws. And I just have 2 thumb screws for each hard drive cage installed on the other side. That way, if I need to change it, I take off the other side panel and take off 2 screws. Now, that's kind of annoying, just a little minor setback, but if you do that while you're building your computer, you wind up not having to take it apart, so it works out. But really, I mean, like, look at all the thumb screws that you don't need. Now, the installation of a hard drive in the hard drive cage is pretty self-explanatory and pretty damn straightforward. Now, there is one kind of a setback with it, that the hard drive cage itself actually uses proprietary screws. They're these long screws, but it comes with like 47,000 of them, so you don't really need to worry about running out of it. So what you actually do is you take the hard drive and the cage, you line up the cage however you want it to be, slide the hard drive in. There are little guide rails in there. Get it lined up, and it will stick out about that much. Now that you see these holes, all you have to do is put in a screw, and then just screw it in. And it lines right up with the screw holes of the hard drive cage. Very simply. Now, some people wouldn't like this because it's not a toolless design. I actually prefer this over toolless designs because toolless designs break. I mean, my last case had toolless CD drives, hard drives, and PCI Express slots, and they were just plastic things that pushed bolts down. Now, I didn't really mind the 12.5 or the 5.25 or the 3.5 inch drive bay ones, but the ones that were on the PCI Express slots, they just broke. So I kind of prefer actually having to put screws in to keep something in place. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be pulling the hard drive in and out every other day. Now, installing 5.25 inch drive bays can be done in a very similar fashion. The front actually has these little corrugated, like, hexagon shaped holes in them that allow air to pass through to get to the fans. Now, all you have to do is unscrew 2 little screws, and one of these things just pops off. And they're just 2 little screws right there and right there. And then you slide the 5.25 inch drive bay into the front and screw it in the same way you attach a hard drive. Now, what this case actually came with is the manual itself, which I have still yet to open. Several of these zippy tie-esque things used for the cable management system, but you can actually put it through, tighten it, and it'll hold the wires, and then you can push down and pull out, and it'll unzippy tie itself, which is good so you don't have to use new zippy ties every time you want to do that. It came pre-installed with an I/O shield plate. I don't know why, because it has 2 PS2 ports, parallel port, 2 serial ports, another serial port. I don't know why. Like, no motherboard fits this I/O shield plate, but whatever. They just put it there. Now, it didn't actually come with these. They were already installed in the case, but these are the PCI Express or whatever expansion bay covers that are there before you install a card, and they are ventilated to allow air to get forced out of the case. It also came with a front cover for a putting a 2.5, or well, like a floppy drive into a 5.25-inch drive bay, as well as the adapter needed to put a 3.5-inch drive bay in a 5.25-inch drive bay. You install it in here, screw it in on these sides, and then just screw this in like it was a regular old 5.25-inch drive bay. Now this case came with a slew of screws. Now right here are the black thumb screws, which are used to hold in the side panel. These are the silver thumb screws, which hold in the hard drive cages. Comes with, I believe, 3 or 4 different types of motherboard lift-off screws. A whole bunch of smaller screws for installing fans, 5.25-inch drive bays. It has 4 of them for installing it into the 3.25 to 5.25-inch drive bay adapter. Comes with the long screws for installing hard drives. Comes with shorter screws for installing all sorts of other stuff. It also has a whole bunch of anti-vibration washers that can be installed with hard drives. Basically, it comes with every screw you're going to need for your build. Now, the front of the case has your power on button, microphone, headphone jack, an eSATA port, 2 USB ports, and a reset button, and the Antec logo. The power and the reset button are pretty good, although if you push across this, your body can kind of just press it. I would have liked it to be indented and not really level with it, but whatever, they still work. Now above it, there is a tray to put in whatever, your iPod, your cell phone, your camera. I actually use this tray a lot. I put my iPod dock right here when I'm charging it, put the camera, this camera, right back here, put anything I want. It's really helpful to throw screws, and it's good to have it there. And I also have my 3 case badges that I care about, that being my EVGA motherboard, EVGA graphics card, and the i7. Now, located on the back of the case, right here, you will see that there is a fan speed and lighting control switch panel thing. Now, this can be used to change the top and back fans to high, medium, or low fan speed, as well as turn the LEDs on the top fan off or on. Now, I do not know why they let you turn the top fan's LEDs off, but none of the other ones, but whatever. So this allows you to make your computer quieter if you need to sleep in the same room with it, because when all the fans are on high, it does get pretty loud, due to the fact that the top fan is 168 CFM and runs at about 33 decibels, and then the 2 back fans right here and the 3 in the front run at 30 decibels when at their full speed. So it does get kind of loud, but I mean, if you're just using it for computing, don't keep it right next to your head. I don't really have a problem with how loud it is, but some people do. Now, going down here, they have the I/O shield plate spot installed, which works really good with the EVGA one that actually has padding on the insides of it, so that once again helps fight vibration. Has all my assorted plugs on it. Below, you will see where the PCI Express expansion-based slots are. Graphics card, this is my CPU cooler's control knob. I have a USB expansion installed, and then other than that, there's 3 more ventilated expansion slots. Now to the right of that, there is some more ventilation, which allows hot air to get pushed out in case if there's too much positive pressure, because there is 3 intake fans. And there are 2 holes that you can use for installing water cooling, so that you can have it come out attached to a radiator, which is really helpful because of the fact that there are these 2 120 millimeters. You can remove both of these and put a 120 by 240 millimeter radiator right there, and then you can put this one on that spot inside on one of the hard drive cages, and you can put this one on the side panel. So it works out really good. And then, of course, below that is the spot where the power supply installs. And I really do like having it on the bottom. It's very helpful because it's on the bottom of it. I can reach around back and actually hit all of the fan control knobs, or not knobs, switches. But it's very helpful to have it at the bottom like that, and it keeps that cable from running up and over all of your USB ports and stuff like that. So instead of having a power cable running this way, you can just have everything installed nicely. Now, as an overall, this case is phenomenal. I would recommend it to anybody who's really doing gaming, who wants their stuff to run cooler, because this case was $160, but it comes with 5 fans, well, 6 including the 200 millimeter, and if you were to buy each of those fans individually, they're $15 a pop. So it basically comes with, let's see here, 15, 30, 60, 75, and the top fan's probably about $20. So it comes with about $85 worth of fans installed on it. So it's an $80 case with $85 worth of fans if you look at it that way. So the fans are phenomenal, especially since I installed this one on the side panel. I really don't know why they didn't include those 2 fans. I guess because it's cheaper, because they don't have to throw in another $30 worth of fans. But even without either of them, the case runs phenomenally cool. My old case, which didn't have terrible airflow, my i7 was running hot. It was running, even with the i7, or the V8 rather, it was running at about 40 degrees, and each of the cores were at 50 or so. And I didn't really like that. Neither did my friend Jimmy, who's a big tech person. So I looked into it and I bought this case. And now my CPU runs at like 21 to 24 degrees. And even in the middle of like high heat things like playing Crysis or exporting HD video, it doesn't really get above 50. I put on this one program that just maxes out all the cores. So all of my cores, all 8 of them, running at 100%, and my CPU didn't get above 53 degrees Celsius. So I mean, it's not even overclocked, but I could very easily overclock. So if you're looking into overclocking on air, this case is definitely worth it, because $160 you drop like 15 degrees, and $160 is cheaper than a really good water cooling kit. Now, at some point, I'm probably going to go water cooling, and I'm going to remove these 2 back fans and put them here and there, and I'll probably be at like 10 degrees or something crazy. I don't even know. But this case is definitely worth it. There are a few things that are annoying, like the fact that there's 8 thumb screws in each hard drive cage, but that's easy to get around. You just take them off when you're building it and only leave in those 2 on the side, here, here, and here, and you're done. And the wire management system is really thin, but think about it, it's better than not having a wire management system. And I was really anal about it. I wanted every cable going through there. I could have run some of them through the front, but it's still a phenomenal case, and I would recommend it to anybody who's gaming. Now, if you're moving this case around a lot, it is very heavy, because the case itself is about 30 pounds. It's made entirely out of steel. The only things that's plastic is this side panel and the very top of it. So if you're going to take this to LAN parties and stuff, I would recommend a smaller, or an aluminum case even, because with everything in it, all your hard drives, your power supply, everything, it comes close to 40, maybe 45 pounds. So if you're going to move it, you better be ready to. But I would definitely recommend this. I have never bought Antec before, and they really did a good job with this. Few goof ups, but so be it. It wasn't a $300 case, but yeah, so that's just about it. Thank you everybody for watching. Please be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. So tell me, what case do you have?